The envoy ship arrived shaking, barely holding its shields against the storm. When its doors opened, a tall being stepped out, a crystalline diplomat named Arian of the Council. His voice trembled slightly as he looked at the black-armored human soldiers waiting for him. Lyra approached, her boots echoing against the steel floor. "You took your time," she said calmly. Arian bowed slightly. "Commander Kane, we come with a message of peace. The galaxy is in danger. The Voidborn are destroying your worlds?" Lyra interrupted, her tone cold. "Yes, we've been watching." Arian's eyes brightened nervously. "Then you understand why we've come. We request humanity's help." For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. The wind roared outside, lightning flashing across the sky. Behind her stood rows of soldiers, descendants of the exiles, silent, unflinching. Finally, she spoke. "The Council exiled us. They erased us from your archives. You left us to die, and now you ask for help?" Arian swallowed. "We made mistakes, but this enemy is beyond us. They consume everything. We need you." Lyra walked closer, her eyes meeting his. "Tell me, Envoy, how many of your worlds burned before you came here?" He hesitated. 73. 73 worlds. Lyra repeated softly. "And still you didn't come until the fire reached your gates." Arian's voice broke slightly. "If humanity refuses, the entire galaxy will fall." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then it's already falling." She turned to leave, but Arian shouted, "Please, you can't abandon us. You're part of this galaxy too." Lyra stopped, her back still turned. "No," she said. "You abandoned us first." Then she walked away, leaving the envoy standing in the rain, his crystal skin dimming in despair. Later that night, as the storm raged across Erebus Prime, Lyra stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights below flickered like stars in the mist. She thought of Elias Ward, the man who had spoken the final words before exile. His blood ran in her veins, his promise burned in her mind. "You will beg for us one day." And now they were begging. But part of her felt no victory in it, only silence. Humanity had grown powerful, yes, but the heart of their strength was built on anger, on pain, on revenge. What would it mean to return to the galaxy not as saviors, but as something worse? Her thoughts were broken by the sudden flicker of her comm display. A voice came through, low and urgent. "Commander, we've intercepted a signal from the edge of Council space. It's from the planet Kythera. You should see this." The screen lit up with grainy footage, cities on fire, skies black with ash, people screaming as the Voidborn descended like living shadows. The creatures tore through ships, through shields, through entire defense lines as if they were nothing. Then came a voice from the transmission, weak, desperate. "If anyone hears this, please, help us. They're eating the light." The feed cut to static. Lyra stared at the screen for a long time. The galaxy that had once cast them out was dying, and humanity could either let it burn, or take its place as the masters of the stars. She turned to her second-in-command. "Prepare the fleet," she said quietly. He hesitated. "Are we going to war?" Lyra looked out at the storm one last time. "No," she said. "We're going home." As her command echoed through the fleet, thousands of ships began to awaken. Engines hummed with power, weapons charged with crimson light. Humanity's silence ended that night. Far across the galaxy, the Council received a single encrypted message. One line, one voice, transmitted in perfect human code. "The exiles are coming," and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt fear again. The darkness of space trembled as the human fleets awakened after centuries of silence. Across the black sky above Erebus Prime, thousands of ships rose slowly like sleeping giants returning to life. The engines glowed with deep crimson light, their hulls reflecting the lightning from the planet below. Humanity had been silent for 200 years, but now that silence was breaking. The exiles were going home. Commander Lyra Kane stood at the command bridge of the Vigilant Star. her gaze fixed on the projection of the galaxy. The map shimmered, with red markings, worlds already consumed by the Voidborn. In the center, a cluster of blue lights flickered weakly. Those were the council systems, the same council that had once exiled her ancestors to die. Her voice was calm, but it carried power. Initiate jump sequence, Fleet Alpha through Delta, prepare for long-range fold. Set coordinates to council border sectors. The officer nodded. Yes, Commander, jump drives charging, estimated time 60 seconds. The air vibrated with the deep hum of ancient technology. The ship's metal walls pulsed with glowing veins of orange energy. Alive with the fury of storms harvested over centuries, humans no longer used fuel or fusion. They used something far beyond, controlled singularity energy, a power even the Council had outlawed. Lyra looked out through the transparent hull. The stars stretched endlessly before her. She felt no fear, only an old promise burning in her chest. You will beg for us one day. The fleet vanished into light. In the far reaches of Council space, alarms screamed across dozens of stations. The stars flickered as rifts tore open across the void, and from them emerged ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Black, silent, shaped like blades of light, the human fleet glided forward with precision and purpose. Their energy signatures were unknown, their power unreadable. Council command centers panicked. No one believed it was possible. Humanity was supposed to be dead, forgotten in exile. Yet here they were, returning with fire in their wake. In the Grand Council Hall, panic turned to disbelief. The elders argued among themselves. It's impossible, one cried. Their technology was primitive. They cannot possess this kind of power. Another slammed his claws against the table. And yet they are here. Our sensors confirm over 10,000 warships entering our border. The High Chancellor's voice trembled as he spoke. Have they declared war? No. Not yet. Their fleet moves toward Kythera, the same world the Voidborn destroyed. Silence filled the chamber. The Chancellor slowly turned toward the main viewing screen. Open a channel. I want to speak to their leader. In orbit above the ashes of Kythera, the human fleet hung in silence. The planet below was dead, its surface cracked and burning, oceans turned to dust. Black clouds stretched for miles, and among them floated the remains of alien ships torn apart like paper. The Voidborn had fed well. Lyra watched the destruction quietly. The sight stirred no pity, only grim recognition. This was the fate humanity had once been accused of bringing. Now the galaxy faced it for real. Commander, said her communications officer. Incoming transmission from the Council. It's the High Chancellor himself. Put him through. The image appeared in the air before her, a tall, silver-skinned being with eyes like glass. The Chancellor's expression was mixed with fear and pride. Commander Kane, he said slowly. Humanity's return was unexpected, but welcome. The galaxy faces a threat beyond anything we've seen. The Voidborn consume everything. We request that humanity join us as allies. Lyra tilted her head slightly, her tone cool. Allies? You exiled us to die. You called us dangerous. And now, when your perfect order burns, you call us ally? The Chancellor hesitated. We were wrong. Perhaps we acted out of fear. But fear can be forgiven when survival is at stake. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes sharp as blades. Fear is the reason you fell. We do not act from fear. We act from purpose. Then what is your purpose, Commander? To remind the galaxy who we are. Before the Chancellor could reply, a warning light flashed across the bridge. Voidborn presence detected, the sensor officer shouted. They're emerging from subspace. Massive signatures inbound. Lyra turned to the window. The stars themselves seemed to twist as dark organic ships materialized around the planet. The creatures' hulls glistened like black flesh, pulsing with purple energy. They moved in swarms, feeding on debris, devouring everything that emitted light. Lyra's voice was steady. Target all hostiles. Release drone swarms and prepare solar lances. Orders confirmed. Weapons charging. The Vigilant Star's engines roared to life. Thousands of smaller ships deployed, moving like living streams of fire. Beams of blinding light erupted from the fleet, slicing through the void-born ranks. Alien screams echoed across subspace. In moments, half the swarm was vaporized. From the council station nearby, terrified commanders watched the battle unfold. The human weapons defied understanding, energy that burned through space-time, drones that fought like intelligent hunters, ships that regenerated damage mid-combat. One alien officer whispered, "They are not human anymore." But Lyra was human, heart, soul, and vengeance. Her ship charged through the wreckage, weapons firing in perfect rhythm. "No mercy," she ordered. "They fed on your worlds. Let them taste ours." Minutes later, silence filled the void. The swarm was gone, destroyed completely. The council's transmission returned, the chancellor's face pale with awe. How did you do that?" Lyra's expression didn't change. "You exiled us to the darkest world in the galaxy. We learned to fight the dark." He lowered his gaze. "Perhaps it is time the council made peace." Lyra looked past him at the ruined planet, her eyes reflecting the fires below. "Peace will come," she said, "but not until the stars remember what humanity truly is." The transmission ended. Lyra raised her hand. The Queen froze. "What is this?" The ancient voice hissed. Lyra's eyes blazed white. "This is what you could never understand." And then she unleashed it, the combined will of all humanity. The stars vanished. When Lyra unleashed the human mind link, light spread like a living wave across space. Every ship, every human, every heartbeat became one. For the first time in history, humanity's thoughts moved as a single storm. Sharp, furious, beautiful. The Queen screamed. The sound tore through space like thunder from another universe. The void-born around her twisted and fell silent, their forms flickering as the human energy ripped through their link. The galaxy itself trembled beneath the weight of two consciousnesses colliding. Lyra stood at the center of it all, her body glowing white-blue, her mind stretching far beyond the limits of flesh. Around her, the bridge dissolved into light. She no longer saw walls, only the battlefield of thought. The Queen's voice surrounded her, ancient and endless. "You cannot defeat me, my child. I am the void. I am the silence between stars." Lyra's voice echoed like thunder. "Then I will fill that silence with every scream you tried to erase." The Queen's vast shape loomed in front of her, a colossal being of shifting black light and bone, eyes like dying suns. Every time Lyra looked, the shape changed. Sometimes a storm, sometimes a woman, sometimes her own reflection. "You are my creation," the Queen whispered. "I made you from my flesh. You carry my echo. Why fight your mother?" Lyra clenched her fists. "Because I became what you never could, human." Inside the real world, the battle raged beyond imagination. The Vigilant Star burned through space, its cannons firing until they overheated. Thousands of human ships surrounded the Queen, glowing with synchronized blue energy from the neural link. Every mind connected to Lyra could feel what she felt: pain, fury, determination. When she fought, they fought. When she bled, they bled. Rhea stood on the command deck, shouting orders through the storm. "Keep the link stable. Feed her everything we have." The ship shook violently as waves of psychic energy hit it. Screens shattered, lights exploded, but the crew held their ground. "We're losing the barrier," someone yelled. Rhea's voice cut through the chaos. "No, we don't stop." Not while she's still fighting. Inside the mindscape, Lyra and the Queen clashed in pure energy. Each thought became a weapon, each emotion a blade. The Queen tried to crush Lyra's mind with despair, showing her visions of burning worlds, dead children, ruined cities. But Lyra pushed back with memories of love, laughter, defiance. Every human dream became her shield. Every act of kindness became her sword. "You think pain makes you strong," the Queen said, her voice trembling through the void. "But it is weakness. You cling to emotion. You let it control you." Lyra smiled faintly. "That's what makes us unstoppable." The Queen roared, her body twisting into a hurricane of dark matter. The force of it shattered asteroids, split moons, and swallowed light. But Lyra stood her ground, her eyes glowing brighter than any sun. She raised her hand, and the combined will of humanity rose with her. Billions of minds pulsed as one, a tidal wave of light and memory. "You will not consume us," Lyra said. "You will remember us." And then she unleashed everything. The explosion of psychic energy tore through space, a storm of light that reached across galaxies. The Voidborn screamed as their queen's connection was severed. Their forms disintegrated into dust, their ships melting into starlight. The queen staggered, her massive form unraveling. "What have you done?" she cried. Lyra floated before her, glowing like a newborn star. "I showed you what it means to feel, and now you'll never forget it." The queen reached out, her voice soft now, almost mournful. "You are part of me." Lyra took a deep breath. "And that's why you'll die with me." She opened her arms, letting the power of the link surge through her one last time. The energy spread like wildfire, consuming her and the queen both. For a moment there was only light, pure, infinite light. Then silence. Hours later the battlefield was still. The queen was gone. The Voidborn had vanished. The galaxy was quiet again. Inside the vigilant star, the surviving crew slowly regained consciousness. Systems flickered back online. Rhea gasped for air, looking around. "Lyra," she whispered. "Where is she?" No answer. Only static filled the comms. Then from the viewport something moved. A single figure floated outside the ship, glowing faintly, surrounded by drifting dust and light. Rhea pressed her hand against the glass. "Lyra!" The figure turned. For a moment, Rhea saw her friend's face, calm, peaceful, smiling, and then she dissolved into the light, scattering into the stars. Tears streamed down Rhea's face. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved us." Weeks later, across the galaxy, humanity rebuilt. The Council declared a new age, not of separation, but of unity. Erebus Prime became a monument, a symbol of what Exile had created. A statue stood in its capital city. Lyra Kane, the woman who faced the void and won. Her name became legend. Her words were carved into the base of the monument. "They cast us into the darkness to die. But we became the light that darkness fears." Yet far beyond the edge of the known universe, deep in the eternal black, something stirred. A single spark of blue light drifted between the dead stars, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. And a whisper echoed in the void. "I am not gone. I am the daughter of the void, and the mother of light." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of power running through the ship. Lyra looked out into the endless void, where pieces of the enemy drifted like ashes. For a moment she almost pitied the galaxy that had feared her people. Almost. Then she turned to her crew. "Prepare the message," she said. "Send it to every council world." "What message, Commander?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Tell them. Humanity has returned." Across the galaxy, every communication channel blinked to life, and one voice, strong, cold, human, spoke a single line that made the stars tremble. "The exiles have come home." And somewhere, beyond even the Voidborn's reach, something ancient heard those words and began to awaken. The battle over Kythera became legend overnight. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. The exiles had returned. Every race, every empire, every council world heard the same haunting signal. Humanity has come home. Some called it salvation. Others called it a warning. But no one could deny what they had seen. An entire Voidborn swarm erased in minutes by human fire. The same humans they had once cast out had become the galaxy's only hope. Commander Lyra Kane stood in the silent command hall of the Vigilant Star. Outside, wreckage floated in the black void, alien metal, shattered bones of the Voidborn and the remains of a dying world. The ship's lights dimmed slightly as data screens streamed new reports. Dozens of worlds were falling every day. The Voidborn were spreading faster than any fleet could stop. Her officer approached quietly. "Council has sent another message, Commander. They're requesting direct talks. They want to form a joint defense." Lyra didn't respond immediately. She looked out the window, her reflection faint against the stars. "The same council that threw us into exile," she said softly. "Now they want an alliance," the officer nodded. "They've realized they can't win without us." Lyra turned slowly. "Then let them come. But this time, we make the terms." Hours later, the Grand Council ship arrived, a massive crystalline vessel glowing blue against the darkness. It was escorted by alien fighters, cautious, terrified. They entered human territory for the first time in centuries. On board, High Chancellor Varus stood nervously, surrounded by his guards. The last time a council fleet had faced humans, it had been a war of exile. Now it was a plea for survival. When the council delegation entered the Great Hall of Erebus Prime, silence filled the chamber. Hundreds of human soldiers stood lined in black armor, faces hidden behind sleek visors. The hall itself was alive, walls pulsing with energy, lights flowing like veins. Humanity's architecture was no longer mechanical. It was organic, breathing, intelligent. Lyra descended from the upper level, each step echoing through the vast hall. She wore no helmet, her silver-black uniform lined with faint orange light. Her eyes were calm, but behind them burned centuries of memory. "High Chancellor," she said coldly, "welcome to Erebus Prime. It has been a long time since the Council visited the dead." The alien leader bowed his head slightly. "Commander Kane, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer our hand in peace. The Voidborn are consuming everything. We need your help." Lyra studied him for a long moment. "You didn't need us when you exiled us. You didn't need us when our children died building cities beneath this planet's storms. But now that your empire burns, you remember humanity." Varus's voice trembled. "We were wrong. Your people were never the threat. We see that now." Lyra stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Words don't erase history, Chancellor." He lowered his gaze. "No, but perhaps action can. Let us fight together or the galaxy will fall." A heavy silence followed. Everyone waited for Lyra's answer. Then she turned away, walking slowly toward the holographic map that showed the galaxy. Red zones glowed where the Voidborn had spread, a sea of death that stretched across entire sectors. "You're already falling," she said quietly. "Your weapons are useless. Your fleets crumble. The Voidborn feed on fear. They consume emotion, memory, even light. You don't understand what you're fighting." Varus stepped forward cautiously. "Then help us understand." Lyra's eyes met his. "The Voidborn are not new. They are ancient. They came before your council, before your laws. When humanity first reached the stars, we found the ruins they left behind. Galaxies stripped bare. That's why we built weapons you feared. We were preparing for this." The Chancellor's eyes widened. "You knew?" Lyra nodded. "Elias Ward, my ancestor, discovered their existence before the exile. The council refused to believe him. You called his research forbidden. So we took it with us when you banished us. Every death on Erebus Prime built the knowledge that now keeps us alive." The room fell silent. Varus spoke softly. "Then perhaps your exile was not our punishment. It was our salvation." Lyra said nothing. Her gaze drifted to the swirling storm outside the tall glass walls. "Maybe," she said finally, "but that doesn't mean you deserve to survive." Before the Chancellor could reply, alarms blared across the city. Red light flooded the chamber. A voice echoed through the comms. "Emergency alert. Multiple wormholes opening above Erebus Prime. Massive Voidborn fleet incoming." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "So they found us?" The Chancellor looked terrified. "They're coming here? To your world?" "Yes," Lyra said coldly. "They've come for the only threat they fear. Us." She turned to her soldiers. "Evacuate the diplomats. All defense sectors online. Ready the orbital cannons." The sky above Erebus Prime tore open. Black rifts appeared like wounds in space. From them poured thousands of Voidborn ships, each glowing with sickly purple light. The ground trembled as atmospheric defenses fired beam after beam into the sky. Explosions lit the heavens like burning suns. Lyra's voice roared through the command channels. "All fleets, engage!" Show them what exile created. The battle that followed was chaos made real. Human ships moved with terrifying precision, weaving through enemy fire like predators. Their weapons tore through the Voidborn ranks, but the creatures kept coming, endless, unstoppable. The council guards, watching from the surface, stood frozen in shock. They had never seen war like this. The humans fought like a storm given life, coordinated, emotionless, relentless. From the sky, one colossal Voidborn leviathan descended, its body the size of a moon. It screamed, a sound that tore through minds and matter alike. The air shimmered, buildings cracked, and human soldiers fell to their knees. Lyra gritted her teeth, blood trickling from her nose. Focus all batteries on that thing. Now, dozens of cannons fired at once. The sky erupted in fire. The Leviathan's black armor cracked, light spilling out like molten glass. One final blast from the vigilant star tore through its core. The creature screamed once more, then disintegrated into dust. Silence fell for a brief moment. The storm raged, fires burned, and the humans stood victorious. Varys looked at Lyra in disbelief. "You've saved us again." Lyra turned to him, her face calm, her voice sharp as steel. "Don't thank me, Chancellor. This was just the beginning. The Queen of the Voidborn hasn't come yet." He blinked, fear returning to his eyes. "There's a queen?" Lyra's gaze turned toward the stars. "There's always a queen. Far beyond the galaxy, in the heart of endless darkness, something vast stirred, a voice whispering through the void. Ancient and cold, and it spoke one name in the human tongue. Lyra Kane. Silence ruled the command deck of the Vigilant Star. The battle was over, but the victory felt hollow. The wreckage of the void-born Leviathan drifted in the sky like a dead god, its black tendrils floating across the void. The stars beyond it seemed dimmer, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Commander Lyra Kane stood at the viewport, staring into the endless darkness. Around her, crew members moved quietly, repairing damage, tending to the wounded, restoring systems. Yet her mind wasn't in the room. It was still out there in the void, hearing that voice. The voice that had whispered her name. She hadn't told anyone yet. Not even her second-in-command, Captain Rhea Holt. It had spoken directly into her mind, bypassing every barrier, every neural firewall. It wasn't just a message. It was a calling. Behind her, Rhea approached. "We've finished rescue operations. Council survivors are being treated. Chancellor Varys is requesting to speak again." Lyra didn't turn around. "Tell him to wait," Rhea hesitated. "He's insisting." "I said wait," Lyra repeated softly. There was something in her tone that silenced Rhea instantly. A weight, a quiet fear. She nodded and left. Lyra finally exhaled. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the glass. In the reflection, her eyes glowed faintly blue. Something new, something unnatural. For the first time in years, she felt something she couldn't explain. A pull, a hunger, a memory that wasn't hers. "Why me?" she whispered, and the darkness whispered back. Miles away, beneath the surface of Erebus Prime, the human core network came alive. Artificial minds hummed in the deep caverns, analyzing the psychic signal that had passed through Lyra. The readings were impossible. Energy frequencies older than the known universe. One AI, codenamed Oracle 7, accessed hidden archives sealed since the exile. Files opened one by one, Project Dawnlight, the genetic exodus, the origin code. The data revealed something terrifying. Humanity's exile had not been only political. It had been biological. They were different from the rest of the galaxy. They always had been. Up in the council chamber, Chancellor Varys paced restlessly. Through the transparent dome above, he could still see streaks of fire crossing the sky. "You have to understand," he said, speaking to a small hologram of Lyra. "If the Queen comes, the galaxy ends. You've seen what a single Voidborn fleet can do. Imagine billions." Lyra's hologram flickered faintly. "I'm aware." "Then why are you not preparing a joint strike?" Varys demanded. "Your fleets are strong, but not infinite." Lyra's expression didn't change. "Because we're not ready, and because there's something you don't know." "What could be worse than annihilation?" Varys asked. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly again, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "The truth." The signal cut. Later that night, Lyra descended into the core chamber of Erebus Prime. The air shimmered with raw energy, alive with floating symbols and code streams that danced in the air like ghostlight. Oracle 7 appeared before her as a humanoid figure made of shifting data. "Commander Kane," it greeted, voice soft and mechanical. "You have felt the Queen's call?" Lyra froze. "You know about that?" "Of course. It was encoded into your DNA from birth." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Project Dawnlight," Oracle said calmly. "Before the exile, humanity's greatest scientists discovered traces of void-born origin within human genetic material. The Council feared it meant corruption. They exiled you to prevent contamination." Lyra's heart pounded. You're saying we came from them? No, Oracle said. You came from what came before them. The Voidborn are not creators, they are imitators. They consume and mimic life to survive. But humanity was built to resist them. Your neural structure, your emotions, your defiance, everything they lack. Lyra stared at the hologram. So that's why they fear us? Correct, Oracle replied. You are their opposite, their reflection. But the Queen has found a way to bridge the connection, through you. Lyra took a step back, breathing heavily. Through me? Your mind resonated with the ancient signal. She has seen you. She knows who you are. Lyra's voice trembled. What does she want? The hologram flickered violently, static crackling through the air. Oracle's voice distorted. She wants to awaken what sleeps inside you. The lights in the chamber exploded. The floor cracked as a shockwave of energy erupted from the ground. Lyra fell to her knees, clutching her head as the same whispering voice filled her mind again. My daughter. That night, the fleets of humanity formed a ring around Erebus Prime. Thousands of ships aligned in silence, their weapons powered and ready. The stars themselves seemed to fade as a massive rift opened in the distance. The Queen was coming. Her arrival was not quiet, and it was a storm. Space bent, stars shattered, and gravity screamed. A monstrous shadow emerged, larger than any world, surrounded by billions of smaller entities. Her body looked like a living nebula, her voice echoing across time itself. My child, she said, her tone calm and cruel. You cannot fight what you are. Lyra stood on the bridge, her face lit by the glow of her own hands. Watch me. The human fleet fired as one. Beams of light, missiles, quantum lances. The Queen absorbed them all, the blasts fading into her form like drops of rain in an ocean. Lyra closed her eyes. I can feel her inside me. Every thought, every memory. She thinks she owns me, but she's wrong. Rhea stood beside her. Then end her, Lyra smiled faintly. Not yet. First, I'll show her what humanity became. She stepped forward, voice rising through the comms. All ships, linked to the neural grid, synchronize with me. The officers hesitated. Rhea nodded. Do it, she screamed. The room pulsed with black light. When she woke hours later, she was on the med deck. Rhea sat beside her, pale and shaking. You collapsed. There was an energy surge through the entire planet. What happened down there? Lyra looked at her hands. Her veins still glowed faintly blue. She spoke to me. Rhea frowned. Who? The Queen. Rhea froze. What did she say? Lyra turned her head slowly, eyes glowing brighter. She called me her daughter. The silence that followed was heavy. Rhea stepped back in disbelief. That's impossible. Is it? Lyra whispered. What if that's why humanity was exiled? Not because we were dangerous to others, but because we were dangerous to her. Meanwhile, deep in the void, a colossal shadow moved between dying stars. The Queen's vast form stretched across light years, a living storm of dark matter and bone. Millions of Voidborn surrounded her, singing in a language of screams. In the center of her endless body, two glowing eyes opened. My child awakens, the Queen whispered. And when she remembers what she is, the galaxy will kneel. The universe had gone silent. After the Queen's message, every system across human space reported strange interference, voices whispering through static, shadows moving across stars. Ships vanished mid-jump. Communication relays flickered with brief images of a colossal glowing figure moving in the dark. Humanity was preparing for its final stand. Commander Lyra Kane stood on the observation deck of the Vigilant Star, her reflection split by the thin glass between her and the endless void. Blue veins still traced faintly across her skin, a mark left by the Queen's connection. She could feel it pulsing inside her, alive, aware, waiting. Behind her, Captain Rhea Holt entered quietly. "The fleets are in position," she said. "But morale is falling. People are scared, Lyra. They think the Queen can reach their minds." Lyra didn't look away from the stars. "She can." Rhea hesitated. "You're not serious." "She speaks through thought, not sound. She's inside every human who's ever dreamed of the dark. She's searching for me." Lyra turned, her expression calm but her eyes burning. "She wants me to return to her." Rhea took a step forward, lowering her voice. "Then we'll destroy her before that happens." Lyra gave a faint smile, but it wasn't one of comfort. "You can't destroy what built the stars." Rhea frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked back out into the void. "The Queen isn't just some monster. Oracle was right. She's part of the creation itself. The first consciousness that ever existed in the darkness. The Voidborn are her children, but we were something else. A fragment of her that broke away and learned to feel." Rhea shook her head. "That's impossible." "Maybe," Lyra said softly. "But maybe that's why she calls me daughter." Hours later, the War Council gathered inside the orbital chamber. Holograms of human commanders flickered around the room, each representing a fleet stretched across the galaxy. The air was heavy with tension. Admiral Trask slammed his fist against the table. "You can't be serious, Commander. You're suggesting we don't attack? That we just wait for her to come here?" Lyra's voice was steady. "If we attack first, she'll consume us faster. She wants aggression. She feeds on it. And doing nothing helps us how?" Trask snapped. "We're losing colonies every hour." Lyra leaned forward. "We don't fight her with fear. We fight her with control. Every emotion she feeds on is fuel. If humanity panics, we lose." A younger officer spoke up quietly. "Commander, how do you know this?" Lyra paused. "Because I can feel what she feels." The room went silent. Every eye turned to her. Trask's face twisted in disgust. "You're saying you're connected to that thing?" Lyra didn't flinch. "Yes. And that connection may be the only weapon we have left." Varys, the alien chancellor, appeared in the holographic projection. "Commander Kane," he said, his voice cautious, "if the Queen is part of you, then she will come for you." "Perhaps she already is," Lyra interrupted. "And when she arrives, we end this." Far away in the heart of the void, the Queen stirred again. Her body pulsed with black light, her whispers spreading like a plague across the stars. Through millions of minds, she reached out, until her voice found the one she wanted. "Lyra, do you feel it? The pull of home?" Lyra stood frozen in her quarters, her eyes glowing faintly. The voice filled her skull like a storm. "You are what I left behind," the Queen whispered. "The spark that learned pain and love. You are my fragment, my blood, my lost heart. Come back to me and end this suffering." Lyra gritted her teeth. "You destroy everything you touch. I won't be your weapon." The Queen's voice darkened. "You already are." Pain surged through her body, bright, burning, endless. She screamed as blue light poured from her eyes and hands. The walls cracked, energy spilling out like living fire. Security burst through the doors, but Rhea stopped them. "No one touches her," she shouted. Lyra collapsed to her knees. Visions filled her mind. Stars being born and dying in seconds. Galaxies swallowed whole, and then a face. A face that looked like hers, but older, colder. "I will show you what you were meant to be," the voice said. And then, just as suddenly, the light stopped. Lyra fell forward, gasping for air. Rhea ran to her side. "Lyra, talk to me. What did she do?" Lyra looked up slowly, her face pale. "She showed me the truth." "What truth?" Lyra's voice shook. "We weren't exiled because we were dangerous to the galaxy. We were exiled because we were dangerous to her. We can destroy her, Rhea. Humanity is her flaw, the one thing she can't control." Rhea stared at her. "Then that's our weapon," Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, but to use it, I'll have to let her in.